In his book In Theory, Classes, Nations, Literatures, Aijaz Ahmad presents a radical critique of some of the most significant literary and social texts of our era. His critique is rooted in the understanding that literary theory has undergone substantial changes due to rapid shifts in world politics and economics, particularly with the rise of third worldism and postmodernism. These changes have profoundly impacted the branch of literary theory focused on questions of colony, empire, nation, and postcolonialism. Ahmad argues that the new critical literary theory, influenced by third worldist cultural nationalism and postmodernism, tends to obscure the central relationship between literature, literary theory, and the real world. Instead of providing genuine explanations, these developments in literary theory often offer distorted knowledge about factual realities. The book comprises 8 chapters that are united not by discipline or chronology, but by their theoretical and thematic cohesion. Ahmed seeks to demonstrate that third worldist cultural nationalism and postmodernism contribute to misleading understandings of the world and the role of literature within it. Through his critical analysis, Ahmad challenges prevailing perspectives in literary theory and calls for a re evaluation of the impact of global political and economic changes on literary discourse. His work stands as a powerful intellectual endeavor to unveil the complexities and ideologies embedded within contemporary literary and social texts. In Chapter 1, Aijaz Ahmad provides a broad overview of the intellectual and political conditions that have influenced literary theory in the Anglo American academy since the post war period. This analysis continues in Chapter 2, where he examines the genesis of Anglo American literary radicalism. He critiques recent counter canonical trends in the academy, which gave rise to a third worldist outlook, and discusses the sociological foundations of this section of the literary intelligentsia that predispose them toward counter canonicity. Chapter 3 is a critical examination of Frederick Jameson's social text and his concept of national allegory as the determinate form of cultural production in the Third World. Ahmad rejects his conceptualization, arguing that the opposite of imperialism is not nationalism but socialism. He emphasizes that the cultural production in the Third World is shaped by social struggles based on class, race, and gender. He highlights that nationalism is not inherently progressive or retrograde but depends on the configuration of social forces and political practices. In Chapter 4, Ahmad delves into Salman Rushdie's novel Shame and its representation of women, postmodernism, and upper class migrancy. He views the novel as an aesthetic of despair, expressing concern about the portrayal of women in the book. Ahmad criticizes Rushdie for creating chilling portraits of women that align with dominant stereotypes and perpetuate imperialist and misogynistic myths. He acknowledges that under certain conditions, such representations might be justifiable. But he also emphasizes that women are not mere victims of history. They have survived against significant odds and actively contributed to shaping history. The pivotal chapter of this book focuses on Edward Said's work Orientalism, as well as some of Said's subsequent writings. This chapter, titled Orientalism and After, presents a keen critique of Said's historiography and epistemology. Said's work is widely regarded as influential and magisterial, but Ahmad points out its ambivalence and inner contradictions. In the realm of literary theory, Orientalism stands as one of the grandest narratives linking Western knowledge with Western power. Ahmad argues that it reflects an uncompromising stance of third worldist cultural nationalism, significantly impacting how questions of colony, empire, nation, and post colonialism are approached in the Anglo American academy. He takes issue with the fact that Orientalism examines the history of Western textual representations of the non Western world in isolation without considering how these texts were received, accepted, modified, or challenged by intellectuals in the colonized countries. He emphasized the importance of situating these agents within their distinct social, political, and regional contexts. While agreeing with Syed's accusation that Orientalists essentialize the Orient, Ahmad criticizes Syed's own essentializing of the West as equally problematic. Ahmad is highly critical of Orientalism's Foucauldian and postmodernist theoretical orientation towards resistance. According to Ahmad, Syed rejects resistance based on Marxist structures like class, gender, and nation in favor of a more personalized, micro level resistance shared by a small group of individuals outside of grand narratives. Ahmad sees this rejection as characteristic of postmodernist thinking, which he finds limiting in its ability to address broader social and political struggles. In chapter 6, Ahmad responds to Syed's attack on Marx in Orientalism concerning the issue of India. He argues that Syed's portrayal of Marx as an Orientalist and a supporter of colonialism is based on a selective reading of Marx's works. Chapter 7, focusing on Indian literature, is among the most exploratory in the book. Ahmad contends that the category of third world literature is politically and epistemologically problematic. Instead, he defends the notion of national literature by using Indian literature as an example, claiming that it represents an unfinished bourgeoisie project. Chapter 8 discusses the Third World theory and provides summary of the political situation in Africa where the term Third World first emerged. Ahmad offers insightful explanations of the term's meanings as embedded in the texts of Indian, Nehruvian, Soviet, and Chinese leaders, which have given it both emotive power and imprecision. He criticizes the Third World theory for emphasizing nationalism as the determinate ideological imperative in cultural production, instead of focusing on the fundamental Marxist dialectic between imperialism, decolonization, and struggles for socialism. Ahmad views this dialectic as constituting the contradictory unity of the contemporary world. However, it is noteworthy that there is no reference to world system theory as it has developed in modern sociology.